definitely you fail to understand the incoming event thoroughly. So you have to keep in mind maximum events and be able to connect them with each other and be able to draw results out of it. As they say, history is the greatest teacher. They are very right. Because when we simply skim through the pages rapidly without understanding, and we are the losers. But when we read history sympathetically, then definitely there are many lessons that we can draw. Students, history is not only a chain of events. History means to understand why an event took place, when an event took place, where an event took place, and then you have to put together three W's to be able to draw a lesson. When you are understanding or trying to understand when, it means you are looking at the time. And the factors which contributed to bring about that particular time. And when you say where, so it means that your knowledge about that particular place should be thorough. Because different climatic conditions, different geographical conditions, and different psychological conditions produce different impact upon your life. It is not possible for a human being to understand all these factors thoroughly at one time. We have to link them up, but this linking up of different events should be very artistic and very accurate. Because if you jump from 13th, 14th century to 20th century, missing out 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th century, you will not be able to understand anything. Remember, each age begets the incoming age. 14th century begot 15th and 16th century. Similarly, 16th century begot 17th century, so on and so forth. And if you see, Shakespeare, strongly romantic. Marlowe, similar to Shakespeare. But then Milton focused upon the religious aspect of life. But along with that, he could not forego the secular influences existing in his life. So, Milton tried to bring about strong subjectivity, but failed because the incoming age of 18th century had a very open, objective mind. And then the 19th century also, though objective, but dominated by subjectivity. You see, studying literature, and especially history of English literature, demands that you don't only take into account the personal life of an author, but also the age in which he lived and the factors which affected him. For example, I am living today in the 20th century. I am also affected by many factors in the 20th century. But all factors of the 20th century do not affect me. Because perhaps I don't have the ability to be affected by some of the factors. Which means, you see, the age in which a person lives does not affect that person completely. There are certain things to which that particular person is not able to respond. And when he is not able to respond, he is not likely to be affected. Today, in the 20th century, if you interview 10 different people, you will have different impressions about the age. Why? Because some of us are affected by certain factors and others are affected by other factors. It all depends how you take your life. If you are an engineer, definitely the structure of a building will impress you. If you are a painter, the color of that, the combination of color of that building will impress you. But if you are an artist, a poet, an author, story writer, definitely the story writer will be impressed by the people living in that building because he is interested in their stories, in their happenings of life. You know, students try to understand that understanding history of English literature is like understanding a human being, because you cannot understand a human being unless you take into account his external and internal life. Now, an author has the ability to change you, to change his environment, to change his society. That is why great authors are known, or great ages are known by the great authors of that age. When we say Shakespearean age, it means the way the way Shakespeare looked at that particular age. That means you have agreed to borrow the mind of Shakespeare and the eyes of Shakespeare to understand that particular age. When you say Miltonic age, it means that you have agreed to borrow eyes of Milton and mind of Milton to understand that age. As we have got keys today for different courses, we buy a key, and with the help of that key, we try to understand the subject. Similarly, to understand Miltonic age, you have to understand Milton. To understand Shakespearean age, you have to understand William Shakespeare. To understand Drytonic age, you have to understand Dryden and Pope. So, every book has one main important chapter. And similarly, different ages have different main authors and writers and characters. So, my students, try to understand, not just simply read history, but try to understand history. When you are saying, I'm studying age of Chaucer, okay, are you also trying to understand the other authors and writers who were present during the age of Chaucer? Because Chaucer alone could not develop himself. All these other writers and authors who were present during the age of Chaucer helped Chaucer to turn into the great Chaucer. So, my dear students, again I repeat, reading history does not mean going through events. Reading history means why, where, when. When you go through these three things and in detail, why? Because it is why which will resolve the riddle of where and when. So, my dear students, I will definitely end my lecture up here and give you some more details in my next lecture, perhaps tomorrow. Then, there we will explain all those factors which I have explained in short. So, thank you very much to be with me. Yeah. Yeah. If you have any questions, you can ask me, or any comment that you have, anything you could not understand.